Agenda meeting for February 10th at 7:16. Please rise, and we will have Councilmember Amendola for the flag salute, please.
I pledge allegiance to the
Flag
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Amendola.
Here.
Ms. Amendola.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
Mr. Phillips.
Here.
Ms. Post.
Here.
Ms. Weitzel.
Here.
Mr. Hayes is absent. Mayor Bloom.
Here.
Andrew Callen.
Here.
Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the bill list.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Moved in second. Is there any discussion on the bill list? Hearing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Amendola.
Yes.
Ms. Amendola.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
Ms. Post.
Yes.
Ms. Weitzel.
Yes. Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of January 6th and January 27th, 2014 minutes.
So moved.
Motion has been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Is there any discussion on either January 6th or January 27th,
Yes,
27th?
yes.
Yes.
I need to understand the conventions that we use to do the meeting minutes, specifically the January 6th reorganization minutes. There's a motion that fails, and the yes votes are in parentheses, and there's a motion that passes, and the no votes are in parentheses. So a typical convention is to put the no votes in the parentheses, so I'm not understanding.
I'm following past practice where the fewer votes are recorded, whether it be no or yes.
But from a standpoint of looking at these and being able to quickly glance and see who voted no, I've never seen a convention like this where the few votes are no.
So the names follow wherever, like on that one motion where it failed 4 no, 3 yes. Right after the word yes, 3 yes, it has the 3 names.
I understand that, but what I'm asking is, are we going to put in parentheses the no votes or the yes votes, or are we going to, it's confusing, the amount of paperwork we have to go through to figure out what happened.
Council can have it any way they want, just practice, generally fewer votes will be recorded with the names.
Does it have to be recorded at all what the names are for the fewer votes? Do we have, are you concerned? Is that what your concern is?
My concern is you need to have one convention, we're either doing yes votes or we're doing no votes in parentheses, not yes and no, yes and no, yes and no.
What if it's just the number of yeses and the number of nos and no names?
I'm fine, I think less is more in terms of,
Well, there is
Our
one
minutes.
reason why you do need that though, under Welcome Schools. If someone wants to reintroduce that motion, they have to be one of the ones who voted for it and voted yes.
Is it,
Okay.
again, so then you need to.
Well, it still was identified if you weren't for this no votes, you must have been yes votes. vice versa. But I mean, council just wants strictly no votes to be recorded by name. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, again, Mayor, got a question for you. How many years have we been doing this practice? Is it the same practice we've been doing all these years?
I've been doing it since 2001,
Has it been the same practice whenever Ms. Westwood was over here as president?
more than likely.
So what's the difference?
More than likely.
No shit.
how we
that's
swear.
not appropriate. That's, please, guys, let's not do that, okay? Let's just,
I'm trying to bring a level of uniformity to the process.
okay. So, let's take a look, if we can, let's take a look at some prior minutes and see what the pattern is. Obviously, with a unanimous roll call, there's no name listing, right? So if we're looking at, you're going with the less, like, if it's
Right.
5 yes and 0 no's, then we're going with the lesser to be named, right? Right. Right. Okay, and then, so like the motion, it says motion in all caps and then it says carried in lowercase. And then, I just want to make sure that it's uniform. Because in this first one, it's not, like, we should either say motion carried or motion failed in all caps together, you see what I'm saying, like in this one. And I'm just looking at the minutes from January 6th, from the nomination, because after that, there is no emphasis on whether it is carried or fails. Yes, that's a motion to table, but I'm talking about in the vote. See how it says motion in all caps and then carried in lower cases? But in the prior one, it says motion failed in all caps, and then below it says motion in all caps and then carried. So I can see, like, for consistency, I mean, that's just one thing, but,
If it's a standard document, it shouldn't change.
yeah, I understand that it shouldn't change, but, I mean, whatever I feel like this one says no, and then yes, and then the people say yes, and then yes, and then no, and then people say no. So should we only put those that dissent, is what I'm getting at? Is it,
Is that what council wants?
Yeah, that's probably what we should do. That's
Just-
simple. Just whoever votes no, put their
Yeah.
name in there. We know when it comes up again, whether, they can bring it up, or, who voted yes.
yeah, because if the point is
Keep it
whoever
all,
voted
yeah.
no,
Can't
is the
open it.
people who can open it, right?
Cannot.
Cannot open it,
Right.
then that's what should be designated.
The only thing distinguished was because the motion failed, you put down the 4 no votes first. Because obviously, 4
Okay,
no
but-
votes meant it failed. And then
Right.
3 yes. So then 3 that voted yes. That only happens whenever it's a motion that fails. You should have the bigger vote, majority vote first. That's why that can be 4 to 3. Whereas when it carries,
So
of course,
it's-
if it's a yes vote, it would be first. 'Cause then-
So it still would be, I mean, the dissenters, I think we should just pick one and say what it is.
So then that would agree.
And that's my point of
They
view.
will fail by 3 yes, 4 no votes.
That would be my point of view though, so I don't know if council wants to discuss that.
I agree with that. Just record the no votes, and let's move on.
Okay,
Does everybody agree with that?
yes, record the name of the no? Okay, so we're good?
Yeah, record the name of the no's and
Okay.
leave the yeses off. It's consistent, you can look at it quickly and see it. That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, okay, all right,
That sounds good.
so. Do you get to step back in? I don't know how this works. Yes?
Well, we're in the middle of
Okay.
vote on that.
Okay, so once we do that, then you can second.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I would like to ask whether or not we need to make a motion for the new convention.
I think that's a administrative.
Where's the
It'll be
solicitor?
documented in the record.
Exactly.
It'll be documented in the minutes, so.
No, I don't think we do.
It's a procedure, right?
Yeah.
I don't- Do you know of otherwise? In your experience, do you know of otherwise?
In fact, we were talking about changing how we record the minutes. Right? I don't think that's
We're
emotional.
talking about a standardization of it. So if we're going to say what the standard is, perhaps it is black and white, we voted on this is the standard. Too many times things have been discussed. and-
So would you like to make a motion then, just to cover our bases?
I'll make the motion after we vote on this.
Okay.
For clarification's sake.
Okay, that would be fine with me then. That way all bases are covered. Okay, so is there any further discussion on the minutes? Any corrections or anything like that? Okay.
Well, I have a
Oh,
question.
sorry.
When I was not here for the last meeting, how can I abstain from voting on that, but voting on the first meeting, the 6th?
You could vote on the first meeting, you were here.
But they're-
Right,
yeah,
but
they're
the motion was
together.
together.
Oh, okay.
So I can just separate that?
Mr. Amendola?
Yes.
Ms. Amendola?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes, for the January 6th meeting, and I abstain because I was not here for the 27th.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Ms. Post?
Yes.
Ms. Weitzel?
Yes on January 27th, no on January 6th.
Mr. Gates?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, at this time, I will hand the gavel over to our president. You are welcome. Yeah. Do you have this?
Yeah.
You want paper?
No, I didn't. Okay. So at this time, do we have anyone signed up for citizens' comments? You?
We have 3 minutes to present already.
Say again?
You're a presenter, Jim, so
Yes.
He's a
this young
resident.
man here will.
Do we have a yes? Constituent.
Oh, we do, okay.
Right there.
Are you Eric?
Yes.
Okay.
So hi, my
State,
name.
I'm sorry, state your name, full name, and where you live, and
You've got
then,
it.
go ahead.
Hi, my name's Eric Orchard, and I live at 231 West Union Street. About 2 months ago, we sent information about the crosswalk in the corner. It's like kind of dangerous because it's really hard to see. And a bunch of cars going on the street every day. So I wrote to Mayor Bloom. It was an email.
Pardon?
It was in, I wrote an email to.
He has a copy of the email too.
Oh, good, I'd like to have it, because I didn't get.
Do you want to hand them? Go ahead and
You
hand
can
them.
hand that to me.
Here's, it also has my brother's,
Okay.
and then my brother's letter. So, my brother wrote, Councilmember Miss Post. And then my mom, she said that she wrote an email to all the council members about it.
Keep reading.
It was not that good during the summer and spring because it was really hard to see, and now it's even worse with the icy snow because it's on the ground and covering up the crosswalk. I'm very concerned for my neighbor's safety about it because this morning when they were crossing the street, like a bunch of cars started honking at them and stuff. Like that. And one sped by and almost hit them. One of our neighbors, Mrs. Catherine, has 4 kids and 3 of them have disabilities. And they have to cross the road every morning to get to the bus stop. Usually my mom has to walk in the middle of the road so the cars will stop for them. Anyway, I just followed up on the letters and emails that we sent. Just wondering if you took into consideration or are
Eric?
you gonna do anything about it? Yeah.
Eric, this is the first I've seen this. I know exactly where you're talking about.
It's on recorded.
At this time of year, it's difficult to redo because of the snow and ice, to redo the paint for the crosswalk.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna ask council at this point that we purchase crosswalk signs. We posted from between Duncan, after Duncan if you're going westbound, and before McCormick if you're coming eastbound on Steuben Street, big, large yellow crosswalk signs, and get the crosswalks themselves painted.
reading in here, you asked about a stop sign. That's a state highway. In order for anything to happen on a state highway, it has to be approved by the Commonwealth, the PennDOT, okay? And we could look into that, but I seriously doubt if they're gonna put a stop sign on a.
I don't think he wants a stop sign, he just wants to make it visible because it's a
Yeah,
crosswalk.
okay, but I'm just saying, as far as painting, we can do that come
Okay.
spring.
I don't know if the painting's gonna help either, because you can't even see it when it's painted until you're on top of it. So that's why
Right.
in my letter, I showed pictures, what it looks like from a distance and
Right,
what's your
as
red
far
line.
as there's a crown in the road right there where it crowns. But the signage, I can request council to do and put up signs. And what I'm just thinking about right now is that coming from the Thornburg Bridge, there's all those sycamore trees that are, on the right side, right up near where you people live. So we're gonna have to get the road department to figure out a good way to post that, the crosswalk ahead, that the motorists can see that traveling eastbound. Westbound would be no big deal because there's the smaller trees in where you can.
It's more the going eastbound, because as they're coming in at Crafton, they speed up after they pass the light.
I understand that, and yes, I'm familiar with that area. So I'll put that back to council because they're the ones that approve that and get it done. If any further studies needed, and we can need a traffic study, then that has to come from PennDOT. And if you will give me your piece of paper here, Eric, I'm going to write my email address down. This email address that you sent this to, I don't have, okay? And I'm going to write this down so you can get me right to my home, okay?
Okay.
All right. And then in the future, if you have a problem, okay. And that is my email that you can get a hold of, okay? All right, do that, please, and thank you for coming. And let's see if we can do something before spring comes to make that a safer intersection, okay? Good job. I remember you outside. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
May I make a comment before we're finished? In terms of, you can sit down, sorry. In terms of the email addresses and us not receiving the email, I didn't receive an email regarding that.
I didn't either, because I would
I'm looking at our website and our email addresses are not on there anymore.
No one was using crafted.org.
So are they putting out, we need to have an email that we can be reached at though.
Right, and I requested last year that my email address be jgbloom@verizon.net. That's my email.
On the internet, on the website?
Yeah, so what I'd recommend us do is we can have, the website says, or that's fine, right? We can have our service provider have everything sent to that email address, forwarded to whatever email address. What's been.
So the Crafton.org emails no longer exist, is
There are
that
no
why
work
they get it?
emails.
Is there any way it could be just sent to the manager, and the manager can disperse it to the councilman?
I mean, that might be a lot of filtering for the manager.
No, we should have our email addresses.
Yeah, I,
Did we all vote for a standard uniform set of email addresses?
Crafted.org, but nobody
Yeah.
used it.
Well, that was what they started with, the Crafton.org. But, my email address is the one that we all have. And I'm not afraid to get emails at home, with that on. There was concern by one former council person that your private email, could be subject to open records.
Sunshine law.
Yeah.
So,
You want to read my emails, go ahead. I mean, they're really boring.
The Crafton.org emails, or is it shut down?
Yeah, because nobody was using it.
okay, so,
Were we,
Where-
did
where-
anybody send any, huh?
We didn't renew it.
so where did this young man's email go?
So nobody,
They sent it
should we?
to-
Well, he has a
should
copy of
somebody
where,
should-
that it was sent, okay? But obviously, I never got it.
Right, so none of us are getting our email is what's going on then, correct?
If anybody's using .org, no.
Okay.
So who made the decision to delete that email?
Well, all of you did, you decided to use your own particular.
Well, I mean, I was using it up to a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't think we ever decided, I mean, there were certain council members that would prefer to have their email sent to their private email address, which is fine, and the proper way to do that, I believe, is to have it go to crafton.org and automatically forward to another email address, which is completely simple to do, right? And everyone, it's the best of both worlds, because the folks that want their email to remain private can stay private, but they're getting it at the right spot. There's still a risk that everything is discoverable at that private email address, right? Because it's effectively going there for all, council business. But I don't believe we expected, I certainly didn't expect that the crafton.org email addresses would not be renewed and that we didn't want email to go there. So I would recommend, let's look into this, let's reestablish the .org. Folks that want it forwarded to their private email address can get it to the private email address. People that want it to remain at crafton.org can remain at crafton.org, and this gentleman will not have emails lost again.
Yeah.
It sounds like they may have gotten lost in the interim between when this was getting shut down and when he sent it out.
That was another site that we were paying for, where with what we have now in the office.com, we have unlimited email boxes. So we could actually do them through the .com, the borough.com emails without doing it.
I mean, either that or we
.com
send
or
a change
.org.
on another
Yeah,
site.
.com or .org is fine. I mean,
I can say with huge frustration that coming on, we didn't want to, because we had to put our email address out there to so many people to get on their mailing lists, and we were looking for something with Crafton in it, and, we're told that it was gonna go away, we're gonna create our own, so I now have a third email address that I created, so that stuff would be separate. So I'm all for crafton.com, .org, .whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way that it should be, to protect us, to protect the people that are emailing us. That's
It looks
how it should be done.
professional,
Yeah.
Now, the .org is gonna cost us X amount of dollars, correct?
We didn't
But
renew that, doesn't
We,
exist.
the
What was it,
.com
like
is free.
$50 a year? .com is free, we have unlimited boxes.
How much is it? Free. No, what did you say?
I think $50 a year.
The .org?
Yeah.
Gotta get the
Which
other
is
one
where our
for free,
website
that's
is.
$50.
No, websites.
Our website's .org, Crafton.
It's not through the app, it's not through the site.
Okay, so we're gonna have
Email.
You
.com.
just streamline all that.
Exactly. It was just recent that our names were finally correct on our website as well, because
Yeah.
we still had old names.
let's talk about this a bit more in depth when we get to the admin, right? Clearly, this is a topic for admin, and we can put this as a to-do and make sure that we get it cleared up to everyone's satisfaction. Any other discussion on that citizens' comments? No. Doug Johnson at 25 South Emily.
I just had a question. Given the recent petition from the Supreme Court denial of the Duncan appeal, what are the next actions on the part of the borough? When will the tax implications be known as far as the repayment of the $2 million loan, $2 million settlement that we have to pay? And basically, what are the next actions on that? The denial was the 6th day of February 2014. This came off the Supreme Court's website. Second thing, I see 37 White Avenue is on the committee discussion items. What was ever done with the $3,000 in tax for the school district that was owed?
School district has it.
Was that?
School district.
Are they waiving that fee since we would negotiate on behalf of them with BIU to
No,
lower the building permit for the school?
no.
And as far as public works go, is it possible whenever they're out plowing that once they get caught up on things, they can come back and like basically widen out the roads to where the roads, the width they should be, and the lanes where cars park when there's nobody parked there during the day, try and clean that stuff up as well? Those are my three things.
Okay. We have one more citizen comment from Mr. Jim Price. Oh, you're a presenter, so it's not a citizen comment. So we'll do that. Actually, we're following that up now. So, with no additional citizen comments, we'll move into the presentations, and Mr. Price, you're first with the presentation.
All right, thank you. I'm here with the Congress of Neighboring Communities, Connect, I'm sure you've heard of them. I'm here just to give you an update on what we're doing. tell you a little bit about ourselves, and give you the opportunity to let us know if there's anything else that we can do for you. Bob's been very active in a number of our different policy working groups, so we'd like to keep you updated. We plan to brief every council. We have 36 members and the city of Pittsburgh, so we have the 36 municipalities that surround the city of Pittsburgh. We're primarily a policy advocacy group that also does some shared services work like COGS when it involves the city. For example, we do a reverse energy auction as well, which is something that I'm going to bring up later in a few minutes. Because it's something that could save Crafton money. You're one of a few of the municipalities that hasn't signed on yet for whatever reason that might be. But just to give you an idea, we formed to fill a gap that wasn't being filled by the COGS or ALOM. We basically, because we work with the city and no other organization like us works with the city, that's why we're there. That's why we give voice basically to the economic core of Allegheny County. Some of the things that we've done in the past that have benefited your community. One thing is the emergency medical services. We were told by our executive committee, a number of the members, that they had been asked repeatedly for money from their EMS providers. And we went out to look for money to provide for the EMS providers. And during the course of that, we discovered that it wasn't just a single municipality that was suffering this. It wasn't a few municipalities. It was basically across the board. Every municipality was, their EMS providers were suffering. So we looked for ways to get funding. The municipalities agreed to allow us to go look for funding for them. And what ended up happening was we developed a relationship with Highmark and UPMC, and they developed something called the Community Paramedic Program. Just to give you an idea of what we did, we work with Robinson EMS, who's your EMS provider, and they've referred already a number of EMS. The Connect Community Paramedic, to step back a second, the Connect Community Paramedic Program, what it does is it deals with patients that are that essentially are frequent flyers or that don't need hospitalization but are calling EMS providers anyway, and it ends up costing EMS providers a lot of money. So what they've done then is they've gotten a list of referrals from EMS providers and from local hospitals. So instead of going out and giving a diabetic a shot and going home, now they have a social worker who goes to that house. So it's basically, a doctor call-in visits, and they're doing this around the area, and they've already had 200 plus referrals. So that's saving your EMS trips that they wouldn't necessarily have to take. Another area that we work on is water and sewer, which is obviously a big issue in the area right now with the Alcosan and the consent decree. And we're working on having Alcosan buy multi-jurisdictional sewer lines from municipalities so that the municipalities don't have to pay for it, and they can spread those rates across the entire Alcosan community, as opposed to areas like Crafton, where it's going to cost you a lot more money than, let's say, it would cost Upper Sinclair, because you guys are at the bottom of the flow and you guys will have the highest amount of flow. That's things that we've worked on, we've had a lot of success with. Things that we're working on right now, just to give you an idea, we have 8 policy working groups, 7 main policy working groups. We work on transportation issues. Right now we're producing a report, a comprehensive report on public transportation. Bob's going to get me a survey. I gave him a survey to do that that he's going to get back to me about the public transportation. And that way, and one of the biggest reasons for that is you guys are a huge hub for public transportation with your West Busway here. And we need you to be a voice to let the Port Authority, which has new governance and $100 billion more money than they had 2 years ago to spend. We want to know where to spend that. And if we can be your voice, we want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear where we can, where we tell the Port Authority, where we can suggest to the Port Authority that they spend that money. Another thing we're working on is we're monitoring, and it actually goes to something that this young gentleman might care about. We're monitoring part of the transportation funding is dealing with multimodal, the money for multimodal projects, which are essentially any project that deals with walking, biking, and roadways. A lot of times it has to do with making intersections safer. So, and there's a $40 million pot of money that's going to be available. I talked to the person who's actually writing the rules at PennDOT, and the money the competitive grants are going to start in July or August. So there's going to be money there for if you guys have projects that you want to have done and they're on state roads and PennDOT funded, that's how we can get that money. That's where we can get money from. So We're gonna keep you posted on when that money becomes available. Bob's already given me a project, an idea for a project, the possibility of doing something with the West Busway and making bringing in developers or whatever to deal with the parking lot and how fast your parking lot fills up on weekdays. So he had mentioned that to us as well. So just to give you an idea of the stuff we do. And this is all stuff that, we typically work with stuff that crosses boundaries, things that are gonna be problems for a number of different municipalities. Connect, the footprint of Connect represents 93% of the Port Authority's ridership. So we have a pretty